Welcome back to Questing Beast. Today we're going to look at another one of my D&D books, and this one is Deep Carbon Observatory. So this is a short adventure module put out by Patrick Stewart and with art by Scrap Princess. And no, it's not Captain Picard, it's just another guy who has the same name. So this is an adventure where your party explores a swamped or flooded valley because a dam has collapsed, and you need to travel up through the dam to its source to find some great treasure that is rumored to be hidden up there. So some pluses and minuses right off the bat. The writing is very good. It's very high quality writing. However, there are a lot of typos. It could have been much better edited. And as far as the art goes, the art can be very dynamic and interesting. So for example, this version of the crows, it's very sketchy, very visceral. But on the other hand, you have things like this map, which is extremely difficult to read and very hard to even figure out what it's portraying half the time. So some ups and downs to that. The layout is very ordinary. It's like Times New Roman font, just put out in a very straightforward fashion. But the reason why this book in particular has such a reputation in the do-it-yourself D&D community is because its ideas are so good. It is packed with fantastic ideas that you can use in any campaign, or you can simply run it as is. So I'll give you some examples of some great things in it. It starts out with you enter the scene, you enter the valley, and it's just chaos. The valley has been flooded, people are dying, there are cannibals on the loose, people's houses are being washed away, and there's immediately this sort of flow chart of adventures that you can go through. Well, not adventures, they're more like small encounters that are linked together in a particular way. And it gives you just enough information to paint a scene and get the hook and then go. So for example, a petty cleric clutching a floating log shouts, "All is lost!" Selminium Tem is the only survivor of his village. He is the key to the church. He will drown soon. So there's a couple hooks right there. Guy drowning, he's a cleric, he's got a key to a church. There's a lot of things you can do with that that'll come up later. And then it links you to a whole bunch of small encounters one after another, all of which have an impact on the surrounding. And this fleshes them out a little bit more. So there is an rival adventuring party called the Crows, and they are also after the treasure in the dam. You'll see fleeting glimpses of them, and once they catch on to the fact that you're also after the treasure, they will start hunting you. And they are good and they are terrifying. And they are all unique. These aren't just like guys with a stat block. These have unique features and histories and backgrounds, and they fight in a very distinct way. And they use very devious tricks to try and take you down. So you got it's one of my favorite rival adventuring parties. You got Hulok and Echo by Frozen. Hulok by Frozen and Echo by Frozen, I guess is how you say their names. A brother and sister who are loyal to each other. So they have something called, these are some of the graded items this adventure comes up with. The ghost-like folds of cloth. Wearing this cloth around your eyes commands the spirit of a tortured foe. You see as the ghost sees, in blackness unnatural and absolute. Nothing can blind you. You need no light of any kind. The ghost walks directly behind you, bound for 12 hours. After this time, or when you remove the fold of cloth, whichever comes first, the ghost must feed on the soul of a named intelligence. To do this, you must kill a living humanoid being and feed it to the ghost. Fail, and the ghost eats you. So these characters are going to have to deal with that. If you somehow kill them and take the ghost-like folds of cloth, you will have to deal with it as well. All of the items have twists to them, which is really essential to having a good item. This guy, this crazy dwarf, Gar Zaguin, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, is full of tricks up his sleeve. He has crazy arrows and poisons and so on. So for example, liquid dyslexia, which he can poison his arrows with, lasts for D4 weeks, cannot be healed since it's not a disease, can't be lifted since it's not a curse, used on wizards. Now you can't read your spells. Right, pretty horrible. Thaumo Conductor. Does 1 damage, does hardly any damage, takes 2d6 to pull out, and does a lot more damage to pull out than it does going in, right? So it's stuck in you. Wire does not impede movement, but it grounds all offensive magic within 10 meters in your flesh. So anytime any dangerous spell goes off, it gets attracted to you. Right, that's awesome. Tiny silver dart tip breaks off in your skin when you pull out the bolt. One eyeball develops an 8-ball hemorrhage in your eye, which does not impede vision does not impede in vision much. Zagoon has a coin-sized mirror that lets him see whatever you do from that eye, so now they can track where you are. This character from the rival party has a snakewood staff, which allows her to raise corpses, but you can't ever get rid of the staff. And every time you use it, you lose experience points. The staff continues to come back to you over time or return to existence if you destroy it. So it kind of curses you, even though it allows you to control the undead. And they fight in a specific way. They never take risks. They never attack when there's a chance of failure. They always try and separate you. They always wait. They use the undead. They use the terrain. They don't use direct contact, but they try and pick you off one at a time, right? They try and stay behind you. They basically set up traps and ambushes constantly as you start getting closer and closer to the objective of the adventure. So they fight really dirty, and they have lots of crazy tactics that they'll use against you. They don't just stand up there and fight you. They use guerrilla warfare. You move up through the drowned lands. Lots of interesting things can happen here that are tied to the adventures that you had right at the very beginning. It's written in a very old school manner, so things tend to be very deadly. And you characters have to be very smart to survive. Eventually reach the dam. You have to fight your way through. There's mummies and devious traps all through it, many of which are very creative. Eventually you reach the Observatory, which is an underground dungeon/mine location. And again, this map is extremely difficult to read. It's drawn very small. It's very hard to figure out where the keys are relative to their descriptions. But once you put it together, it's amazing. It's full of incredibly evocative rooms and just items and toys to play with. Things that players just love to tinker with. And the point of the observatory, the treasure that's hidden here, and the reason why it was built, and what it is observing, is a great twist that I'm not going to give away. It's a great capstone to the whole adventure and really makes it a launching off point that you could build a whole campaign around. There's also a great monster in here that you have to fight. So that's really my summary of the adventure. I don't want to give away too much since there's so much great stuff to read in there as you go through it yourself. Art is not for everybody. A lot of the character art is, I think, quite evocative, but the maps are very difficult to read and could have been cleaned up a lot. It needs editing. There's a lot of typos, but the writing itself and the ideas and descriptions are excellent. So if this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, I would definitely think about picking it up. It's also available in PDF form if you want to do that. I'll put links to where you can get it down in the description. And let me know if you know of any other great adventures of this sort of style that I should check out. I'd love to hear about them. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.